Good evening, everyone. Rohit, dear crack grade B, please get some other teacher. Rahul sir, Rahul sir is way too intelligent for us. He teaches as he was doing PhD. Acha Rohit, but we just want a score as much as possible for RBI, and that too within the short period of time. Okay. Good evening, sir. When the class will begin? How I can get about the paid classes, live classes? Just paid live classroom. Class will start. एकदम लैंग्वेज गुड अच्छा भाई ठीक है ओके गुड इवनिंग एवरीवन सॉरी फॉर दिस डिले ओके 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 डबल वॉइस को वॉइस इज ओके राइट नाउ इज इट ओके ओके ऑल राइट सो टुडे वी आर गोइंग टू स्टार्ट economic growth part. Okay, just let me adjust this pen size to 1. Okay, health is good right now. Thank you for asking. सर कल से टाइम पर रहेगा ना हाँ 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 सॉरी टुडे was a little bit late but from tomorrow onwards it will be on time. So we have to start the topic of economic growth. Sir, I was waiting for to attend your live classes because I have completed last year's CSI recorded session. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Krishna. Thank you, everyone. So economic growth, first we will start the part of national income, right? So first have just a understanding paid live class कब होगा. See, apart from topic related thing, any other thing, please ask to the admin. I do not have any idea about other things. If you have any doubt with respect to the topic, please ask me. Apart from any other thing, please talk to the admin team. Okay. So here we are going to start the national income topic. Many of you have already seen those lectures, which was recorded lectures of last year. And regarding PhD, Rohit Singh was saying that ki I do the PhD. That was lectures in detail, right? It was full-fledged lectures. So that is why in detail. Anyways, if you have any issue, you can refer other things also. Now, so this economic growth, national income topic, first we will understand the concept of GDP, right? Because if you will see most of the time they are talking about the GDP. So first you have to understand the idea of GDP, what is GDP and how it works. And through that we will go to the national income, and through national income we will understand what is growth, and through growth specifically in context of economic growth. And then we will see all the things related to what? Economic growth. Okay. Praveen Chaturvedi is the class is going to match the paid batch quality content. You can check it if you have any doubt. So, in order to understand the GDP, first have a kind of idea about the definition of the GDP. When we define the GDP, it is defined as अरे बाबा पढ़ लो सारे के सारे ठीक है I'll answer all those questions later. First understand, already I am late today, I'm sorry for that. So first understand the concept of what? GDP. What is GDP? It is total factor income of residents of a country. It is a total factor income of residents of a country during a financial year, right? So what we have to focus here first is what is factor income, then understand the concept of resident, and then the concept of country. So first of all, what is GDP? It is a factor income, right? It is a factor income, and it is an income of resident, and it is an income generated country. When we say country, when we use the term country, what it means that? It means that it is used in the context of particular geographical area. So in a context of particular geographical area. So what is the GDP? First thing you have to keep in your mind, GDP means a income which is generated in a particular area, right? The income generated in the particular area, that is defined as GDP. So that is why it is always GDP of India, right? GDP of USA. So what GDP shows us? It shows us the income generated in the particular area. It's never going to be like this GDP of Indians, GDP of Americans, GDP of Russians. It is always coming under the geographical area. So GDP tells us where the income is generated. Fine. So GDP always tells us where the income is generated. Who is generating the income? That is not concern of GDP. GDP is concerned about where the income is generated, because they are using the term country, which is particular geographical area. So first thing we have to keep in the mind. The next important thing we have to keep in the mind to understand factor income. What is factor income? How it is defined? How this factor income is defined? So in order to understand factor income, first understand the concept of income, right? So income is basically defined in two ways. One is factor income and other is transfer income, right? So one is factor income, other is transfer income. So if you have received anything through one-way transfers, donation, charity. If you have received anything through one-way transfers, donation, or charity, then all these things will be defined as transfer income. For example, if a person A, he has received some money from his near and dear, right? He has received some money from his near and dear, then it will be considered as one-way transfer. Any money which is received in the form of donation, charity, that will also come under the category of what? Transfer income. And as per the definition, we do not add transfer income while calculating the GDP of a country. Right. So, in this way, the transfer income is never going to be the part of GDP because it is a transferred income. And transfer income means what? Why? Because generally, when we talk about the factor income generated through factors, factor services, and these factor services are coming in the form of land, labor, capital, entrepreneurship. So factor income do come in the form of what? The factor income do come in the form of land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. So if income is generated in any of these four forms, land, labor, capital, sound, now sound is okay? Now sound is okay? Vinay is asking, sir, what is the difference between foreign territory and domestic territory for the GDP? See, for GDP, we do not go for this concept. Wherever the income is generated, there is nothing like a foreign territory or domestic territory. It is always the territory where the income is generated. We do not calculate in this term ki the income GDP generated in the foreign territory, income generated in the domestic territory. It is always a domestic territory. Fine. That is why it is gross domestic product. Fine. So here the domestic means what? Domestic mean a particular area where the income is generated, right? So where the particular income is generated, it is always about the area. Here we do not go for this classification of what? Foreign territory or domestic territory. When we go for the concept of what? Abhi sound okay hai? Now sound is fine. Still anyone is facing the sound issue? Sound is okay? Please confirm. अच्छा, चलो, थैंक यू, थैंक्स a lot. So what I was saying that income and this income is defined as factor income and transfer income. Transfer income means money is received in terms of what? Money is received in terms of one-way transfers. It is received in terms of one-way transfers or donation or charity or even gift. So if the money is received in any of these forms, it will be called as transfer income. And while calculating the GDP, we do not include the transfer income. But remember when we calculate GDP, we do not include the transfer income. Fine. But when the personal income is calculated, then it is inclusive of factor income plus transfer income. So I will explain you the concept of what is personal income, right? But before that, first you have to understand the concept of GDP and what I have explained you till then now. It is factor income generated by residents of a country during a financial year. And in that I explained you country means what? A specific area where the income is generated. So GDP is a territory based phenomena, means it always tells us where the income is generated, right? Then I started explaining you about the factor income and I told you the factor income is a income generated through factor services. What are the factor services? They can be in the form of land, it can be form in the labor, or it can be in the form of capital, or it can be in the form of entrepreneurship. So any income generated through all these four means that will be considered as what? That will be considered as factor income. Fine, that will be considered as factor income. Okay, so we understood the concept of factor income. Now when we define a country's geographical territory, right, I have mentioned factor income generated by residents in a country. So I explained you about the factor income. Now in broad sense, how the country is, means how these geographical boundaries are calculated for a country, how a geographical boundaries are calculated for a country. Land boundaries, number one. So country's land boundaries, so suppose that this is a country. Okay, this is country A and this is country B and this is country C. Fine. And this is country D. And this area is a C. Fine. So for country A, how we can determine this country? So first the land boundaries of this country. So countries A land boundaries. After land boundaries, we have to check the sea boundaries. So how the sea boundaries of a country is calculated? From sea shore, right? So suppose that land is finishing here and from here sea is started. So this is land and it is sea. Okay. So from point A, land is over and sea is started. So from point A to point B, AB is totally equal to 12 nautical miles. From A to point C, suppose that this distance is what? This distance is 200 nautical miles. Okay, so A is considered as territorial water, whereas This 200 nautical miles is considered as exclusive economic zone. Okay, exclusive economic zone. So what is exclusive economic zone? From its name, it's very clear. Exclusive economic zone. So is an exclusive for economic. Exclusive for economic. What it means that? It means that in this entire area of A to C, in this entire area of A to C, country A have exclusive right of economic activity. Country A have exclusive right of economic activity. That means from fishing to mining, that can be done by only country A. Okay. However, if any other country's ship, whether it is military ship or non-military ship, they can come to this area. Which area? The area between B to C. Any other country's ship, they can come, they can use this area B to C as a C for navigational purpose. They can use that area for the navigational purpose. I'll give you the real-time example. Suppose that this is our boundaries. Fine. So this point A and this is point B and this is point, suppose that this is point C. So from point B to C, suppose that there is a boat, a Chinese boat, that Chinese boat that can come into that area. You cannot stop them to reach in this area of B to C. They can come, they can use this area for navigational purpose. Fine. But they cannot enter in this area of A to B because it is territorial water of India. So any ship cannot enter in the territorial water of a country. However, they can use the rest of the part which is part of EEZ but not territorial water. Fine. So this area can be used for navigation purpose. However, if this Chinese boat will start doing any fishing, mining activity in this area, that will be the part of India's GDP. Why? Because doing economic activity in this area is an exclusive right of India. So, in this way, any income generated in the land boundaries, any income generated in the sea boundaries of a country, that is part of that country's GDP. Apart from that, any income which is generated where? In international water. If any income is generated in the international water. Now, what is international water? I told you this area A, B and C. So this is an exclusive economic zone of country A. Similarly, suppose this is an exclusive economic zone of country B. Fine. So this is an EEZ of this country B. So the area which do not come under of any country's EEZ, any area which do not come under the category of any country's EEZ, then this is going to be known as international water, right? So this is defined as international water. So any economic activity done by anyone in the international economic water, then it is going to be the part of that country's GDP. For example, if they are going to ask a question, a Chinese fishing boat, if they'll ask the question, a Chinese fishing boat is fishing in Bay of Bengal, then income will be the part of Bay of Bengal, then income through fishing will be part of A, India's GDP, B, China's GDP, Myanmar's GDP, D, Bangladesh GDP. Answer. What will be the answer? In the question, they have just mentioned a Chinese fishing boat is fishing in the Bay of Bengal. Then the income generated by this fishing boat will be the part of which country's GDP? India's GDP, Myanmar's GDP, China's GDP, Bangladesh GDP. Now, in this question, they have not mentioned anywhere where that boat is located in Bay of Bengal. In the Bay of Bengal, they have not mentioned any other data. So when the any other data is not mentioned, it is always considered it is where? In international water. So if it is in the international water, then answer will be what? Then answer will be China's GDP. However, if they have asked this question in this way, a Chinese fishing boat is fishing in the Bay of Bengal. A Chinese fishing boat is in the Bay of Bengal and it is 100 nautical miles away from coast of Chennai. So it is 100 nautical miles away from coast of Chennai. So the coast of Chennai 100 nautical miles away, that means that boat is in the exclusive economic zone of India. And if it is an exclusive economic zone of India, that means a Chinese fishing boat's income must be the part of what? Must be the part of India's GDP. Why? Because Chinese fishing boat is not allowed to do any economic activity like fishing through the boat in India's exclusive economic zone, and they are doing that means they took the permission from the government of India to do the fishing. In such cases, the income will be the part of India's GDP. Understood this thing? Vikas Rathod divides into not divides into Bangladesh to India. It will be always part of that country's GDP. Yes, for example, Vikas, your question, like if you'll see, we share the coastline, means our exclusive economic zone is also very near to exclusive economic zone of Sri Lanka, and it also having some proximity with Bangladesh also. So in such cases, when the two countries' exclusive economic zones are going to collide, then both countries mutually decide ki okay, this is the part of your exclusive economic zone, this is the part of my exclusive economic zone. If still there is a conflict, then both countries have to reach to UN in order to solve that dispute. For example, in the case of India and Bangladesh, what happened few years back, like consider this area, some area belongs to Bangladesh and this part of India. So Bangladesh was claiming that this part is their exclusive economic zone, whereas India was claiming that no, your exclusive economic zone is limited to this area only, this is part of India's exclusive economic zone. Finally, both countries went to United Nations, and United Nations decided that this area belongs to Bangladesh and the rest of the area belongs to whom? India. So in such way, such kind of disputes are going to be resolved. However, sometimes what happened? Countries like China, what China is doing in the South China Sea. So even UN said that that part belongs to other country. China refused. China said that no, it is part of their exclusive economic zone. So that is why this entire region is under conflict. Fine. So that is the political issue. We need not to go there because it's not the thing to discuss here. Just giving you a perception. The entire conflict in the South China Sea is related to what? EEZ. Whose EEZ is there? Because South China Sea is very rich in terms of natural resources, especially hydrocarbons. So if you are going to claim that is your exclusive economic zone, that means you are going to get a right to explore. Fine. Once you will have a right to explore, you can earn huge amount of income. So this is all the conflict is going in that reason. US is refusing, no, this is not your exclusive economic zone. So all these things, political military issue, we should not go there, but this idea you have to keep in your mind. I hope this point is clear right now. Is it okay? Can we move forward? So I have explained you about factor income and country. Now understand the nature of resident. Fine. If a person group of person or company is residing in a country for income generation purpose for more than 182 days, roughly counted as 6 months. If a person, group of person or a company is residing in a country for income generation purpose for more than 182 days, then income generated shall be part of that country's GDP. What it means that? It means that, get an example, for example, Honda Motors India Private Limited. Honda Motors India Private Limited. So this Honda Motors India Private Limited is what? First of all, Honda is a Japanese company. Fine. So Honda is a Japanese company and they have their plant nearby Chennai. So in nearby Chennai, they have their plant where they are manufacturing their cars. So a Japanese company, it's a company, Japanese company, and it is residing in India and manufacturing the car. What is the purpose of manufacturing the car? To earn the profits. So they are in India for income generation purpose. That is why whatever income they are generating, that will be the part of India's GDP. Okay, understood this thing. If you understood, let me know. Right now the IPL is going on. Foreign origin players are also playing in India. Right? They are also playing in India. What do you think? Their income will be the part of India's GDP or not? अरे राठौर साहब अभी आएंगे, पहले मेरे क्वेश्चन का तो आंसर करो. Foreign players who are playing in IPL and they are earning the money. What do you think? Their income will be the part of their country's GDP or India's GDP? Parth, Abhishek, Ruchi, no, 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 no. My answer is yes. That will be the part of India's GDP. This is the catch here, na? This is the catch here. Why it will be the part of India's GDP? Understand. Acha, tell me one thing. When these players will come to play, they play hardly for 2.5 months, right? They play hardly 2.5 months. But what do you think? Their contract is for that 2.5 month, or that their contract is for the season? What do you think? Their contract is always for a season, not for only that 70 days of the playing schedule. They do promotions for their franchisees for entire year, till then they are the part of that franchisee. Fine. So any player who is part of that particular franchisee, they sign a contract for entire season. Fine. An entire season, that means 1 year. So their contract is for 1 year. So they are going to play in that 2.5 months. But even after the play is going to be over, even after the finals, if their franchisee is going to do any promotional activity and they are available, so they will come and they will participate in that promotional activity. So they are signing a contract for an entire year. So this is why whatever the income they are going to generate while playing in IPL after signing a contract, that will be the part of India's GDP, not their country's GDP. Understood? Upcoming Indian bureaucrat saying no. Understood? Have you understood this concept? Why their income is going to be the part of India's GDP? No, Abhishek. No. Not Saudi Arabia's GDP, because contract is being signed here in India. Right? All the IPL related rights are going to be signed in India. The income which is going to be generated through IPL, that is going to be taxed in India. So that income will be the part of that country's GDP. Yes, if any money is going to be paid to Saudi Arabia to play cricket there, if BCCI is going to pay some money, if BCCI is going to pay some money to whom? To Saudi Arabia, then in that case, that income will be the part of Saudi's GDP, otherwise it will be remain part of India's GDP. And even Saudi Arabia, like country, most many of the Islamic countries, they do not tax. They do not tax even, right? So and they are doing this thing. This Saudis are doing this thing to promote the cricket in their country, right? So yes, that will be just a venue. Have you understood the concept? How the income is going to be the part of that particular country's GDP? Have you understood the concept? Maybe physically you are not going to be there for even more than 1 day or 2 day or 3 day. It doesn't matter. Your physical presence is not required. Fine. But if your interest of that interest means what? The source of income is located in that country. Then you will be your income will be the part of that country's GDP. In the case, for example, if IPL is going to be held after every say 4 months, after every 4 months there is a new season. Okay, so if after every 4 months there is a new season, that means suppose that player A is a part of franchisee 1 for first 4 months, then he took what? He said that ki, no, I'm not interested to play further in the IPL. I am step back. I'm going to step back. I'm not going to be the part of this IPL franchises anymore. So if he is a part of an IPL season which is going to last only for 4 months, then in that case he was in your country for 122 days only, not crossing 182 days limit. Then in that case his income will be the part of his country's GDP, not India's GDP. अंडरस्टूड? अभी सबको क्लियर है? किसी को कोई गिला शिकवा शिकायत दुख तकलीफ परेशानी? नहीं, चलो देन गुड. अच्छा, now when we use this concept of resident, there are certain exceptions. When we use the definition person, group of person or a company is residing in a country for income generation purpose, right? There is an exception. What is an exception? If person, group of person, if a person, group of person is residing in embassy, high commission, embassy, high commission, international organization or military base. If a person or group of person is residing in embassy, high commission, international organization or military base, then income will be part of that country's GDP of which they are citizen. For example, in Japan, there is a place, Okinawa. So Okinawa is a place in Japan and it is one of the biggest military base of USA. More than 50,000 soldiers are deployed in that Okinawa military base. So whatever the income US soldiers are getting while being based in Okinawa, that will be the part of USA's GDP, not Japan's GDP. Okinawa is a place in Japan, fine. However, in that at that place there is a military base and that military base belongs to USA. So those people who are working there and they are of US origin, US citizen, then their income will be the part of USA's GDP, not Japan's GDP. Similarly, suppose A is a member, he is a member of Indian embassy at UAE. So in UAE we have an embassy, and if in that embassy person A is working and he is an Indian, his income will be the part of India's GDP, not UAE's GDP. Whereas if person B is working in a company that is in UAE and B is working there 182 days, then in that case B's income will be the part of working at where? Embassy, right? Then his income will be the part of India's GDP. I hope all of you heard the name of Shashi Tharoor. So before joining the politics, he was part of UN. He worked in a UN as a under secretary. So he was under secretary at United Nations. So United Nations have their headquarter in the New York. So he was working in the New York as an under secretary to the United Nations. Fine. So whatever the income he is going to get while working in UN at New York, then that income will be the part of India's GDP, not USA's GDP. Doesn't matter. That place is located in USA. Similarly, there is UN peacekeeping forces. So in many part of the world, they are disturbed area and United Nations send their peacekeeping forces. And for that, every country volunteer. So if any Indian soldier who volunteer himself to be the part of UN peacekeeping force and he went to Uganda, right, under the peacekeeping mission. So while working in the Uganda, when he will get a salary, that salary is paid by UN, and UN is an international organization. Maybe he is posted in Uganda, but he is working for an international organization, right? Then his income will be the part of India's GDP. Understood this thing? Vikas Rathore is saying that ki if an embassy hires a local sweeper, his salary counted as an India's GDP or America's GDP. Obviously, his salary is going to be the part of USA's GDP, not India's GDP. It is not going to the part of India's GDP, it will be the part of USA's GDP. See, I told you here, if a person, group of person if a person, group of person is residing in embassy, high commission, international organization or military base, then income will be the part of that country's GDP of which they are citizen. So if they are the local person, then they will be the part of. For example, in India there is a US embassy. दिल्ली में यूएस एम्बेसी है, ठीक है. इनफैक्ट आज आज उसी एरिया से निकल कर आया था मैं भी, ठीक है. सो इन दैट एरिया, चाणक्यपुरी एरिया, देयर इज एन यूएस एम्बेसी. और उस यूएस एम्बेसी वाले एरिया में इफ सम इंडियन इज गोइंग टू वर्क, then he is going to get the salary from their embassy. However, that salary will be the part of India's GDP because he is an Indian citizen. ठीक है. तो राठौर साहब अभी क्लियर? Is everyone's doubt is clear? तो हमने क्या किया? What we understood till then now, factor income is clear, resident is clear, and country is clear. So all set to understand GDP. So this is a territory. In this territory there are the people who are living here. They are living here and their purpose is to generate income here. Fine. And they are generating two type of income, factor income and transfer income. So transfer income is not going to be the part of GDP, only factor income is going to be the part of GDP, right? So for example, again another example, suppose that this is India and here some companies are coming from where? Some companies are coming from Japan, some companies are of USA, some companies are of Germany, some Indian companies are also there, fine, and some companies are from China. So all these companies who are generating here, their income will be part of India's GDP, right? So again, keep this thing in your mind very clearly. When we calculate the GDP, we always came to know where the income is generated. Who is generating the income? We will understand later, but GDP always tell us where the income is generated. Understood? तो चलो आज के लिए इतना ही रखते हैं. Tomorrow I will be on time, right? I will be on time today. I'm so again sorry for that, but tomorrow I will be on time at 9:30 sharp. I will start 9:30 to 10:30. Stop. Later on, if required, later on, not right now. Later on, if required, I'll extend the duration from 9:30 to 10:30 to 11 also. If there will be requirement, I'll increase the timing also. Right. So any issue related to studies you want to ask before I'm going to wind up this session? Sir, one thing, please keep budget and survey date is sliding. Data is slides to memorize facts and linkaging example. Okay. सर सीए का लेके कंफ्यूजन है तो उससे कैसे पढ़ें? See, CA वाला part, I always recommend all the students focus on one part only and try to do maximum number of revision. That is the key. How many sources you are doing, it's not very important. The single source or two source, keep multiple revisions, that makes you better. Sir, can we get the question for marks every day about the topic we do still? Can we get the questions? Question, my dear, it is going to be a bit difficult for me. I tell you honestly, while doing the topic, I'll give some examples, but giving the question from my side, it's a kind of very difficult task for me. So I will not make a commitment, but I'll try. So I'm preparing notes with you. Will this be the sufficient, or I have to? Apart from my notes, no need to go for anything else. जो पहला कमेंट था, सबसे पहला कमेंट रोहित का, रोहित ने वहाँ पे मेंशन ही कर दिया कि पीएचडी का, तो यू कैन रिलाई विद दीज नोट्स. ठीक है, वो नोट्स इतने मोर देन सफिशिएंट है. आरबीआई के लिए आप और भी कोई एग्जाम दे रहे हो, दीज नोट्स आर मोर देन सफिशिएंट. हाँ, यस, SNS, yes, I am going to do this thing. Because I'll try for that. Chalo then, everyone, see you tomorrow at 9:30. Okay. Thank you, everyone.